Welcome to Stoic Psyche Wisdom. In today's video, we step into the silent chambers of a Roman emperor, a man who ruled an empire, yet fought his greatest battles not on the battlefield, but within his own mind. When the world around him trembled under war, plague, and betrayal, Marcus Aurelius did not crumble. He wrote, he reflected, he disciplined his soul. While others fell apart under the weight of power and chaos, Marcus built something indestructible, an inner fortress. And inside that fortress were 3 rules he lived and ruled by 3 principles that prevented him from breaking down, no matter how heavy the crown became. These rules are not relics of history, they are survival codes for the modern soul. Because the storms of today, anxiety, loss, betrayal, uncertainty, are no different from those that tested the Stoics centuries ago. So light the candle, take a breath, and listen, not as a student of philosophy, but as a warrior preparing for life's next trial. Let's enter the mind of Marcus Aurelius and uncover the 3 rules he used to never break down. Chapter 1. The Emperor Who Faced Himself. Before we reveal his rules, we must understand the man behind them. Marcus Aurelius was not born into peace. He was born into responsibility. As emperor, he commanded legions, managed wars, governed millions, and yet, he could not control his own fate. He lost his children. He faced betrayal from his closest allies. He endured endless wars on the empire's frontiers, and through it all, he was plagued by illness and exhaustion. But Marcus never surrendered to despair. Each night, by candlelight, he wrote to himself words that would later become meditations, not for fame, not for legacy, but as a way to anchor his soul amid the chaos of leadership. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This sentence became his compass, his reminder that while the empire could crumble, his mind must not. What Marcus understood, and what we often forget, is that life will always collapse in ways you can't predict, but you can choose what remains standing within you. And for him, 3 rules held that foundation together. Rule 1. Control your perception. The Stoics taught that the world itself isn't cruel or kind. It's neutral. It's your judgment that paints it with emotion. Marcus Aurelius faced assassinations, betrayal, and war, yet he never called himself a victim. Instead, he observed his mind's reactions like a philosopher observing a flame. He wrote, "If you are pained by any external thing, it is not this thing that disturbs you, but your judgment about it. And it is in your power to wipe out this judgment now." That's the first rule. Perception is everything. When life strikes, when someone betrays you, when opportunity vanishes, when chaos unfolds, your mind will instantly want to label it unfair, wrong, devastating. But in Stoicism, that labeling is the first chain you must break. Marcus trained himself to ask one question: is this truly bad, or just uncomfortable? The Stoic mind learns to separate pain from panic. Pain is real, losses hurt, words wound, moments shatter, but panic is optional. It's your interpretation of pain that multiplies it. Here's how you apply this rule in your own life. When something bad happens, pause before reacting. Write what you think about it, not what actually happened. Notice how your mind adds drama to facts. Then reframe it through the Stoic lens. This too is material for virtue. To Marcus, every hardship was raw material for greatness, a forge for strength, patience, and courage. In the quiet of his study, surrounded by the scent of burning wax, he looked his fears in the eye and whispered, "You will not control me. I will decide what this means." That's how emperors are made, not in marble halls, but in the unseen battles of perception. Rule 2. Master your response. The second rule Marcus lived by. Control your response, not the outcome. He knew he couldn't control the actions of his generals, the diseases spreading through Rome, or the fate of his own children, but he could control his own behavior in every moment. The Stoics believed that between what happens and how we react lies a sacred space, and in that space is our freedom. Marcus filled that space with discipline. He didn't allow emotion to decide his next move. He allowed reason. He wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This is the essence of Stoic resilience, turning obstacles into training. When someone wronged him, Marcus did not retaliate with hatred. He reminded himself, they act from ignorance, not malice. When the empire suffered, he didn't curse fortune, he sought solutions with calm. And when death surrounded him, he met it with quiet acceptance. That's mastery, not the absence of pain, but the ability to stay aligned with your principles when pain arrives. To apply this rule in modern life, start here. When emotions surge, delay your reaction. Count your breaths before you speak. Ask, what would my highest self do right now? Your strength lies not in how loud you respond, but in how composed you remain when the world expects you to collapse. Remember, you can't stop the storm, but you can become the one who sails through it with steady hands. Marcus Aurelius never sought to escape difficulty, he sought to become equal to it. Rule 3. Live according to reason and virtue. The third and final rule is the heart of all Stoic philosophy. Marcus believed that to live well is to live with reason and virtue as your guide. Virtue, to the Stoics, meant 4 things. Wisdom, seeing clearly what is within your control. Courage, acting rightly despite fear. Justice, treating others fairly and honorably. Temperance, mastering desire and impulse. Marcus believed that if you held to these four, you could never truly break down, because even in ruin, your soul remained whole. He wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." He didn't chase happiness, he chased alignment. He didn't crave applause, he craved integrity. When everything fell apart, he anchored himself in action, guided by principle, not emotion. If he had to lose, he'd lose with honor. If he had to suffer, he'd suffer with purpose. And that, in essence, is the Stoic promise. You may lose everything, but if you never lose yourself, you have lost nothing of real worth. In modern life, this means choosing self-control over impulse. It means doing what's right, even when no one is watching. It means being unshaken by trends, gossip, or chaos, because you answer to a higher standard, your own reasoned mind. Chapter 4. The Silent Practice. Marcus didn't preach these rules, he practiced them, alone. He never intended for his meditations to be published. They were reminders to himself, like a soldier sharpening his sword in private. He wrote to confront his weaknesses, not hide them. He doubted, he tired, he grieved, yet every time he returned to discipline. Picture him. A candle flickers in his tent near the front line. Outside, soldiers murmur in the dark. Inside, the emperor sits with his journal, writing, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." That line was not despair, it was clarity. It reminded him of life's brevity, urging him to live with purpose and presence. He knew control was temporary, but conduct was eternal. Chapter 5. Applying the rules in modern life. Now, ask yourself, what would happen if you lived by Marcus's 3 rules, every single day? When you're betrayed, you remember Rule 1, control your perception. When you're provoked, you remember Rule 2, master your response. When you're lost, you remember Rule 3, live by reason and virtue. You would stop reacting to every chaos around you. You would stop being enslaved by emotion. You would stop waiting for peace to come from the world because you'd be creating it within yourself. This is how Stoicism turns from theory into transformation. Your daily frustrations become your training ground. Every setback becomes a test of your philosophy. Every insult becomes a lesson in detachment. In a world addicted to noise, you become silence. In a society built on impulse, you become discipline. In a culture chasing comfort, you become resilience. That's how the modern Stoic walks through life, armored not in steel, but in clarity, patience, and calm power. Chapter 6. When the mind becomes a fortress. Marcus once said, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." That is the end goal of Stoicism, not indifference, but inner peace. When you live by these rules long enough, your mind becomes a fortress nothing can penetrate. Insults echo off your walls. Losses no longer collapse your foundation. Even death loses its sting. Because you've seen the truth, everything external is fleeting, but virtue endures. And in that realization, you stop fearing the fall. You start trusting your ability to rise. Conclusion. The unbreakable mind. Marcus Aurelius did not live a comfortable life. He lived a disciplined one. He faced more suffering than most modern people ever will. And yet, he left behind not a legacy of wealth or conquest, but a book of reflections that still steadies millions of souls today. His 3 rules were simple, but they forged an emperor who could not be broken. Control your perception. Master your response. Live with reason and virtue. If you hold to these, you may still feel pain, but you will never be destroyed by it. So, when your world begins to tremble, when life's weight threatens to crush your spirit, remember Marcus Aurelius, sitting under the candlelight, writing his truth into eternity. He didn't escape suffering. He endured it with grace. And in doing so, he proved something eternal. You do not need the world to be at peace, to be unbreakable. You only need your mind to be disciplined. This is the Stoic way. This is the way of Marcus Aurelius. This is how you never break down.